Well, if you have ever been kept up at night by a running mind while you're scaling your business, this is for you. This is for scaling CEOs, solopreneurs, agency owners. Ask me how I know something about this. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name's Crystal. I'm a former Access Consciousness facilitator turned executive performance coach. And I've got notes because I'm also super ADD. And I really want to talk to you about how I worked with my client to get some pretty cool results in pretty unconventional ways. So if you've been in the business game for a while, there's a lot of advice floating out around there. Like if your mind is running and you have all these things going on and you're stressed all the time, there's some really typical Googleable stuff. You can do meditation, you can take a walk, you can watch your diet, you can use blue light and orange light. It's a very long list. And if you're on LinkedIn, you get to read about that stuff every single day. And I am recording this live, so hi everybody. But I want to tell you what I do, which is functional consciousness, how that transforms hustle, and really why you should stop aiming for hustle and start aiming for freedom. There's a lot of things that are going on unconsciously for us when we cannot stop driving our ship. Now, let me tell you about, I've got some videos coming out that'll tell you a little bit more about my story, but nutshell, I grew a business from nothing to multi-six figures over multiple years, $1.4 million in lifetime revenue, nothing huge, but definitely robust. I had a team. I was traveling the world. I was on social media all the time. And about 3 years ago, I hit a really big wall. And it was a convergence of things: my life, my body, we were living in another country, and my energy levels totally changed. And so I spent 2 full years, instead of creating from joy, creating from have to. And so I just kind of know intimately the whole spectrum of what's possible when it comes to you and your business. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how I helped my client sleep better, which sounds really trivial. But so this guy is actually a founder of a SaaS company. He had created 2 SaaS companies previously, and this was his 3rd one. So he was well financed and skilled and smart and had all the things and knew all the things. In fact, his partner is in holistic stuff. And so when we ran into each other, he was really confused about why he wasn't able to go to sleep at night. So we started talking about it. And basically, I just asked him, what's up? What's going on? Now, there's 4 big things that functional consciousness does for you. And it's very pragmatic, which is why I like it. And I call what I'm calling functional consciousness is the consciousness that you get access to that empowers you to move forward, to create your business, to be happy, to whatever results you want to have, whether that's work-life balance, whether that's sustainability, whether that's joy, whether that's fulfillment. It's like, whether that's business growth with fulfillment, because we don't have to do either or. You don't have to quit things in order to have something. So functional consciousness is the consciousness that you get aware of that empowers you to have what you'd like to have. So what do you want to have? So we go through 4 phases. The first is just discovery. This sounds really simple, but it's essentially like, what is this? What's driving you? So when we got into this was really interesting, because what I found surprised me. Here's this guy, completely successful on all fronts. Anybody would look at him and he could fly and spend a month in Bali. We don't know how much money to spare. Like, the money was there. He had a beautiful new SaaS. It was working. He was running ads. Everything was working on the surface, but he wasn't able to sleep at night because his mind was running. So when we started to get into it, what came out surprised us both. He ended up pulling up the energy of a situation that had happened in his 20s, where he had a really, really, really big failure. He didn't go into it for me or himself, but it was big. And so And he'd also grown up in a country where he was kind of constantly having to hustle and scrap and make it work, right? Survival. So here he was, this guy who was making it on all fronts, and he was still in his being surviving. Now, you and I need to know something about survival that we might not want to admit. And it's that no matter what our outsides look like, we can be functioning from that on the inside. And as soon as we start functioning from survival, and I have some stories about this, everything is hard. It's stressful. There's projections and expectations that you're putting on yourself. And they're all kind of hidden. They're kind of just running in the background, like this low growl that you can't get away from. And so when you don't identify that that's what's driving you, that you are in fact surviving rather than thriving, then you're just run by it. The moment you can shine the light of consciousness, this is why I think consciousness is so cool. The moment you can shine the light on it, you get access to new choices. So if you're constantly being run by something that you haven't identified, you don't know what it is, you can't articulate it, then you're fucked, and not in a good way. So we identified this big energy that was running him. And he was pretty surprised actually about it too, because again, we're taught to function from our minds, right? Logically, this didn't make sense, but energetically, it was happening. Consciousness is all about the energy. What is the energy of what's running you? Not what's logical. Because listen, if you and I could make ourselves sleep at night and not be stressed, we would. But logic doesn't get us there. So we want to do pure discovery. What's driving you? What are you afraid to let go of? This is another big one. Because here, imagine this. Is there any time in your life that you've ever done this with your organization, with your schedule, with the way your business is running, with what you know, right? You're just holding on to it, clenching for dear life. And that's why our minds run like this, because we're trying to control everything. What are you afraid to let go of? And what conclusions might you be making? One weird thing about when you're being driven by something that you can't articulate is that you're going to a bunch of conclusions, and it's partnered with what can't you let go of. And it could be so many different things, like I have to do this, I can't let go of this, I must, it's have to, must, can't, need. All of those things are going on usually at exactly the same time. And again, that low growl in the background. So we need to discover all that. That's part of getting functional again. Phase 2 of getting functional again is to invite creativity. So we've sort of identified what it is. Now, what can we do with it? Can we change it? If we can, because sometimes it's no, sometimes you can't. Let me give you a top tip. You can always change something that you're doing. You can never change something other people are doing. You can influence it by choices you make and energies you pull and all that stuff, but you can't change other people. So it's fair to ask, can you change it? So if it's inside of you, can you change it? And if you can, because that's a key thing to get, if you can change it, how? Good question. Now, what I'd invite you to do with all of these different questions is don't go into your head about it. Because again, if you go into your head, we're going to logic. So what we did is we looked with him as like, how can we change this? Now, he made some new choices, right? It took us 2 conversations. And so for those of you guys on LinkedIn, on Facebook, YouTube, you want to check the descriptions and the comments and wherever text lives for my power hour. And you can come and have a power hour with me. He made some pretty big changes in that he started, I think he brought on more people in his team. Like he rearranged his team because he was doing all the work, and changed his business model, and then took himself for a month in Bali and took some time off. He was like, he recognized that he was being the bottleneck in his own operation. Raise your hand if you can relate. And ended up just making some external choices. But there's internal choices you can make too. So the third thing we want to do is reveal feasibility. We sort of did that. Again, these kind of all blend together, right? We sort of did that in phase 2, but we want to reveal feasibility. It's like, are other things possible with this thing that's keeping you up at night than you've considered. Now, one of the big things I love about consciousness and what I'm calling functional consciousness is that when we are in survival mode, we have unconsciously decided that we are not supported. We do not live in an abundant universe. We have to do all this on our own. We have to figure this out on our own. And so that's what we're doing. So what this little process does is this invites the universe in. It invites the universe in. I'm going to be 50 this year. I've been learning a lot this year about receiving. I'll talk about that more in other videos. How you and me, can be sitting in the middle of a gold pile and believe that we have nothing. And that's essentially what most of us do. We sit and we aren't sitting, we're running our asses off. We run our asses off in the middle of a gold pile, thinking we have no support and there is nothing for us. And we just believe it. And we believe it so much that we can't see the gold that's around our feet. But you and I are supported by a generous universe. And that's not woo. That's actual. That's quantum physics. That's like everything is energy. So we want to reveal the feasibility of like, are other things possible? What if we asked? We're not taught to ask, we're taught to answer. What if we actually asked the universe to show us what else could be possible that we haven't considered? Keep in mind that your mind, the reason it's running is because it's trying to control something and find and solve. And so it's operating like a computer. That's why it runs at night. One, there's space to run at night. Nobody else is there. So you're like, brrr. Two, you think that in your mind you can solve what you've decided is a problem. And three, that's just how we're taught. This is just we're super intelligent. That's what we're taught. So we go to our mind. But there is a whole universe that we are a part of, that is here and is supporting us. So we have to ask of it for it to know that it's got a job. Otherwise, it's busy supporting what we're choosing. The universe just supports what you choose. So we want to reveal feasibility, like, are other things possible? Can this be changed? Do we have other choices that we haven't actually considered? And then at the very end of the process, uncover tactics. Now, raise your hand if you tend to go to tactics first. What book was I in? Oh, I'm reading a really cool book called The 12-Week Year. And, it's got a lot of stuff, and I'm going to butcher this quote. But one of the things he talks about is that for most of us, we go to tactics first. So he has you go through this whole process that, you get your vision, and then you create your plan, and instead of setting your goals for a year, you set your targets for 12 weeks, and you make that 12 weeks your year. And the reason is because most people when they do year-long things, and this is how most companies were taught to do things, accomplish most of their great stuff in the last quarter, right? Q4, as it's called. So most companies hit most of their benchmarks in Q4. Why do we do that? For example, that's another great video. Why do we do that? Well, one, we're fast and we're powerful and we like doing things at the last minute. But two, because at the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we feel like we have a lot of time. And so we just don't get as present. We don't get as present, and we don't choose, what's going to really work. So we want to, at the end, start uncovering tactics. Oh, I want to round out this story. So he said, so what you want to do is shorten your year, because if what you accomplish at the end of the year is your best work, then shorten your year, make it 12 weeks long instead of 52 weeks long. So I'm working with that system right now. It's really amazing. But he's like, most of us ask how too soon. When you ask how too soon, you cut off your process. You got to ask it at the right time. So this is at the very end. We're like, okay, so if I can change this, how can I change this? Now, how isn't to go into your head. It's to look at what is possible that I haven't considered. So to kind of give this story a nice little ribbon, if you are having, the too long don't read is, if you are having trouble sleeping at night because you're scaling, it's not that you're broken and it's not that you have a problem. It's that you're trying to control something that you need to choose. And so what I'd invite you to do is really go into discovery about what's actually happening. And this is going to take a little bit of space. You're going to have to give yourself space to do it. Do some discovery, invite in some creativity, reveal the feasibility of those things, and then go to tactics, but inclusive of how you want to feel, how you want to live, what you want your business and your life to be like, and what you want to create. And if you need more, and whenever you're ready, my work is for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. Leave in the comments below any questions you have or things this brought up, and I will see you in the next conversation.